What is going on, you guys? So today I have another quick episode for you. So we're going to go over a video called Why We're So Obsessed with Our Partners. Codependency Explained. And this is from a YouTuber named Sacred Light Amadeus Thomas. Let's hop into it.
How do you avoid being codependent?
Yeah, that's a crazy ass dance. It's a dance, man. It really is. A part of it is facing off with our programming. Again, I already spoke to this earlier, but if I understand that my whole life has been set up to figure out what you need and want, mommy and daddy, so that I can feel safe to therefore go be who I am, then that over time, let's call it 10 to 15 to 16 years of my life was set up that way. You think I'm going to come out of 16 years of programming and conditioning and go into a new relationship and not have that same setup? It's 100% going to be there. So the first step is to go, oh my God, look what I'm coming out of. Can you help me, new partner? Can you help me untangle and unweave and cut the cords of codependence while simultaneously understanding that we're connected?
Yeah, I'm glad that he used that last example there, right? Because like, if you think about it, like a lot of our subconscious programming is done by the age of 7, like 6 or 7, and we finally become a little bit more conscious. So, we're just doing all the things that we watched, heard, people told us we needed to do, right? So we're not really fully conscious of things until about 7 or 8. And then at a certain point, like you said, you have to wake up to be like, oh, this is what happened. No wonder it's so difficult for me. Or you maybe you can make it not difficult by changing your mindset around it. But we've essentially created these, you could think about it as wires, like he's saying, right? Like brain networks or neural networks that are like tangled together. We've done all these habits, all these behaviors this certain way to feel safe, to get validation and approval from them, for being able to please them, right? Like all these behaviors, they become tied together like a bunch of cables. And so at a certain point, you realize that if you're struggling with like codependency, for example, you have to start undoing. It's like untangling a bunch of cords, right? Like you have to start undoing that and reprogramming it in a healthier way.
Right? I'm going to get vulgar here for a moment, but if you are in a relationship with somebody and you go fuck somebody else and come back and give them a disease, you're responsible for that, right? Not that that's ever going to happen, but the point is like I can poison the well of my partner by my dumbass choices, right? So a lot of things need to happen. One, anybody going into any relationship where you understand that you're super connected and that codependence is possible, you have to talk about it. You two have to talk about it. Hey, and I'll give you raw, vulnerable shit from my marriage where we almost ended it, bro. 2 years ago, we were at the brink of divorce. And a big part of it was my stuff, where I learned as a little boy that if I checked all the boxes for my mom, that then I can go outside and go be me. So I'll check the boxes at home and I'll be me outside, right? Just even that thinking is already off as a child. Well, my idea of relationship was I'll check all the boxes and I'll be a good husband and I'll cook, or I wouldn't cook, but I would clean, wake up 100 times a night with the kids, be a super dad, super everything. And anytime she complained about something, one, I took it super personal. Two, I'd go and be even more. So I was doing a lot. But where I was doing the dishes from, where I was helping the kids from, where I was, being the superhero and trying to provide and do all the stuff from was lack and scarcity. And so she never really got her man. She didn't get me. She got the wounded little boy, the 9-year-old in a man's body.
How were you doing it from lack and scarcity?
Because I wanted her to approve of me. I wanted her to say, good boy. I needed her to validate the same way that my mom was. So we weren't even in a relationship. She wasn't in a relationship with me. She was in a relationship with the 9-year-old little boy who was still trying to get the pat on the head from his mom. That's not a man.
Yeah.
That's a boy, right? The man says, I'm gonna wash these dishes because this is my house. And today, I need you to do it. The man says, hey, these are my requests. And here, catch this. Take it even deeper. My wife, who's amazing, did not grow up in a household that was touchy-feely, lovey-dovey. I did. So I wanted her to kiss on me and love on me and hug me and jump in my lap and do all these things. And the way I was trying to get that done was I'll do more chores. I'll fold the laundry. I'll do this. I'll make a bunch of money. I'll be the super dad waking up in the middle of the night 100 times a night. I'll go with no sleep. Just please, at some point, figure out, psychically understand that I need you to come do these things. Right?
And it's funny, like the psychically thing, right? It's like, because some people don't even realize that they're doing that. Like they're hoping that their partner is gonna understand because they've been together so long or whatever, right? Like they're hoping that they're gonna see that subconsciously somehow just understand that that's what they need. When sometimes it's a matter of, because it's not that easy, right? You have to go through and do that programming. You have to address the inner child, like he's talking about, and be the man, right? I mean, it goes on both sides, right? Like you have to, at the end of the day, like you have to be able to move through all of that, and then afterwards communicate that that's something you want. Because at the same time, your partner will probably want to do that for you without you doing all those chores. Like you're gonna want to do all those things because it's your house, your family, like he said. But your partner is also gonna want to give that to you anyways, not in like a bartering system like that, like you need to trade this to get that, right? Like they're gonna love you like that anyways, and they're gonna want to give that to you.
That was a recipe for disaster, and it created so much resentment in me and her because she was never in a relationship with the conscious man. She was never in a relationship with my power. She was in a relationship with a construct, a social construct that was born out of pain from childhood. So now, right now, this is 2 years ago. We almost got divorced. After that 2 years and all of this stuff came up and then we had a huge explosion, we started fighting all the time. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. We were fighting because I was no longer willing to hide my request. Because in relationships, you have requests and you have requirements. I was no longer willing to hide or push those to the back. I now was willing to share. These are my needs. This is what I want. This is what I desire. This is what I like. I stopped hiding me like I was as a child. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
Right? Mommy's home? Good boy. Get outside? Real me. Now I'm collapsing those. Real me in the house. So we fought a lot. But the more we fought, the sexier I became to her. The more we fought, the more polarity. The more we fought, the more sex, the more love, the more juice.
Well, and something that's worth pointing out there, right, is that they're no longer simply seeking each other's validation, right? Because, like, if you're always seeking validation, like the pat on the head, the making them happy thing, right? Like, you're essentially, like, people-pleasing to some extent. And, of course, we want approval and validation to some extent anyways. But, like, if you're hiding all that, like hiding all the arguments, the disagreements, the things like that, right, it'll create that resentment, right? And you're not going to really be in, like, your fully authentic, like, truly loving relationship with them, because you're not going to see each other for who you are. And you can see, like, what he was saying, right? Like, things became more masculine, feminine polarity, right? Like there was actually the balance going on, and it wasn't like fighting in a bad way. They were working through things so that they reached the point in the relationship that they always wanted to be in, right? And people will be afraid to get in arguments, and this might be worth saying too, right? Like, you don't need to fight. You don't need to argue. Just have a level-headed conversation about why you're disagreeing, right? So like, I know some people let it boil over and get to the point where, like, they're angry and they're actually fighting, like, verbally, right? But it's worth mentioning that being stoic as a man, like, it's okay to have feelings, of course, right? We all have feelings, but getting to the point where you can address them calmly and be the rock for your wife, for your woman, right? Like imagine, like, waves of the emotions, and I know you feel a certain way, and one of the best things you can do is just say, like, if you're frustrated, like, hey, like, we're going to have this conversation. I just need some time to cool down so we can have the conversation in a calm state with level head, because I want to understand you and hear you out so we can come to a solution here, right? And you could even say the same thing to her, like, if you realize, like, she's really angry and pushing the conversation, like, you just say, like, hey, let's return to this conversation when we're both in a calm, more level-headed position so we can come up with a solution, because I want to hear you out. Like, I want to understand you well, right? And you basically lead in that situation as well.
The more clarity she could land on that. That's man right there.
And that all leads to what, like, he hasn't really explained codependency here, but like dependency is actually seeking those validations, right? Like codependency meaning like you need them, right? Rather than being independent. Like you can be two partners who are independent people and come together with a really healthy relationship. But codependency is where it's like you need them, you need the approval, you're walking on eggshells, you don't want to start an argument, you don't want to disagree, right? And you're always with them, right? Like you see a lot of codependent people who are never apart too, right? Like their lives are the same, rather than being two independent people who have their own lives and can come to a union in a healthy way. So that's worth you recognizing if it's something that you notice in your life. It's something that you can actually work through.
Right? I became a pillar. Something inspirational, something scary. In a good way. Now we don't even fight. But I'm still there.
So the solution's fight. No, I'm playing.
At some level it is. At some level it is. It depends on how you fight.
Got you.
Yeah.
But how do you turn that? So I get that, but how do you turn that fighting into something more productive? So like, did you?
And by the way, because we already talked about it, there's no need to fight. What would be even better than all this? Because I know stuff comes up. You get to know someone, like it's like unraveling, like an onion, or you take off layers of like the best version of that person as you start to date them. Like more of them after time, and time will only tell for some of this stuff. Like you're not going to know everything by a certain time period. It's just like you don't know someone until you've been together for a while, until you lived together, until you had kids together, et cetera, right? So you've got that like a marriage, right? So one thing worth mentioning here is that some of this you can head off to, like get ahead of earlier, like just explain like how you feel about certain situations when that topic comes up, laying down boundaries and frame early in the relationship when you're in the early stages of dating, because that way, or before getting into a relationship with them, like more official, whatever level that means, right? Like relationship, marriage, etc. Like laying down those boundaries, like this is what is cool, this is what's not cool, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and this doesn't have to work out, right? I'm just letting you know like what I'll do in these certain situations, and then also going through the conversations so you understand each other well, right? So it's not an argument or a fight later, because it doesn't need to be.
Just let your frustrations out and finally come to an understanding. And then also, who is the real you?
Yes.
That you are hiding.
I'm just figuring it out. I was figuring it out on the job. I didn't know because I wore the mask so long. Right? I was figuring it out. And the beautiful thing, because here's the thing, right? People go, like for me, I used to go to Burning Man. I went to Burning Man 12 years.
Wow.
And why I loved Burning Man, because it was one place where there was no expectations. The weirder you were, the better. The crazier you are, the better. The more free and open and expressed you are, the better. So Burning Man to me equated freedom. When I'm here, free. When I'm home, gotta do the thing. Stay in the box, right? You're a big ass black dude. Everybody's scared of you. X, Y, and Z. Gotta be safe. Gotta be this. Gotta be that. Right? Okay. When I'm here, fucking no hose bar. Right? So the work again is to collapse those to make Burning Man be home. Right? And so okay, well, I'll figure it out. And I want to say something. You said, how do you make it productive? It assumes that fighting isn't productive. It's one of the most productive things you could do is be honest about where you are. Fighting doesn't mean yelling. It doesn't have to. It could just mean, hey, we disagree on this. At least that person knows. You know why people hate when people ghost? Because they just want to know. Just tell me, bro. You don't want to date me? Fuck, tell me. You found somebody else? Tell me. But don't be a little bitch and run. That's the thing that pisses people off about ghosting. And it's the same thing that pisses women off and men off in relationships is we have this unspoken resentment where you don't know how to get to this person because they're not actually speaking their truth.
By the way, I mean, that's like a good point there too. Like, again, right? Like not expecting someone to be a mind reader, right? Like they're not going to read your mind. It doesn't matter how long you've been dating, right? Like sometimes they'll understand certain things, like see you're acting a certain way and piece some things together, but you can't expect that from anybody, right? You have to be someone who understands that you need to communicate properly. So if you work through all these like inner child things holding you back, right? The need for validation, like all these different things, just being willing to ask questions and tell each other what's going on, how you're feeling. Like, people, it's so like overlooked. You know, people expect their partner to just understand without you saying anything. Like, they should just know how you feel. Why don't you just take it upon yourself to actually tell them and use your mouth, communicate. It might feel hard, but at the end of the day, it's going to help you both. So, very interesting video. I hope you guys are able to take something valuable away from this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.